This exercise is going to be quite short. I created a very simple topology that we'll use to learn how to configure Ether channel. In short, Ether channel is a way to aggregate links. We'll use it to take several physical links and group them into a single logical link. By doing that, we achieve a higher tolerance to errors or failures and get higher speed links. There are some rules to follow when doing this. First, you can aggregate 8 ports tops, and all of them have to be the same type. They should all be either Ethernet, Fast Ethernet, or Gigabit Ethernet. When I say 8 ports, you can actually aggregate more, but only 8 can be active inside the same Ether channel. Second, all of the interfaces grouped in an Ether channel must have the same settings. For example, you can't have 4 grouped interfaces and 2 of them are access and the other 2 are trunk. Third, all grouped interfaces must have the same speed and duplex settings. We haven't changed the default configs for this stuff in this course, but just mentioning. Next, obviously, but believe it or not, sometimes it gets forgotten, all interfaces joined in an Ether channel must be switched on. And lastly, if any changes are made on one of the interfaces, such as port fast or STP port priority or root guard, BPDU guard, etc., all those changes must be applied on all interfaces that are in the channel. I think by now you got the message. All interfaces in a channel must have the same configuration. Okay, let's get into our exercise. I've already configured endpoint computers' IPs, but also trunk interfaces between all other switches, so the only link remaining to be configured as trunk is the Ether channel. Also, Rapid PVST is configured on all switches and MLSs, although it won't make much of a difference, but still. What is left for us to do is configure the root bridge and the Ether channel. So let's get going. Obviously, there are no VLANs other than VLAN 1, which is the default VLAN. So when configuring the root bridge, I should say VLAN 1. Enable configure terminal, spanning tree, VLAN 1, root primary. Now on to create the Ether channel, we are going to open the range of interfaces that will be grouped inside this port channel. And those are Fast Ethernet 0/1, Fast Ethernet 0/2, 3, and 4. So interface range F0/1-4, and then the command to actually create this channel is channel group. And I want to point out that you will not be able to use the tab key until you type in -G. So that's the first time you can use the tab key. That's when iOS will be able to recognize which command you want to use. Then we need to define the number of this new port, of this new logical interface that we are going to create, and then mode. And then I'm going to use the question mark to see the available options here. And let me explain this very briefly here. There are 2 aggregation protocols available here. PAGP, short for Port Aggregation Protocol, and it's a Cisco proprietary protocol for an automated logical link aggregation and can be used on Cisco switches or others who buy the license to use it. The second protocol, an IEEE protocol, is LACP, short for Link Aggregation Control Protocol, and is used for the same purpose. But it's not proprietary, so anyone can use it. Since we're using Cisco here, let's configure with PAGP, which means we'll use this desirable option. The difference between these options is very well explained here. Active and passive are for LACP, And if you use active, there will be no negotiation with the other side on that link. And if you use passive, the interface you're configuring will go into LACP only if the other side wants LACP as well. Auto and desirable are the same only for PAGP. Okay, moving on. So with this command, we create a channel group that will unconditionally use PAGP. We get lots of messages here, but this is all good. The only thing left for us to do is to configure trunk. And the commands for configuring trunk are the same commands we've been using so far on MLSs. So we need to define the encapsulation first and then just say switch port mode trunk. I want to remind you here that we are still in the range of physical interfaces. We will use these same commands on our logical port channel interface. So switch port trunk encapsulation .1q and then switch port mode trunk. These commands disappear rather quickly because there's lots of messages coming up, so you can look at the commands right here in this exercise guide. Okay, now we're going to exit the range of physical interfaces and get into this new logical interface that we just created. It's called port channel, and the number is 1. That is the number we used when we were creating this channel. As I said, we're going to use the same commands to configure trunk. So switch port trunk encapsulation.1q and switch port mode trunk. That's it for MLS1. Let's go to MLS2. Enable configure terminal, interface range F0/1-4, channel group 1 mode desirable, and then switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, switch port mode trunk. Onto the port channel interface port channel 1, switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, switch port mode trunk. What's important for us is that this link has been blocked and not the Ether channel. Although you will probably notice that these links are way faster than these 4 aggregated links, but I wanted to aggregate 4 links instead of 2, and I would only be able to aggregate 2 links with Gigabit Ethernet because each of these switches only has 2 Gigabit Ethernet interfaces. As promised, let's test. If we send a packet from PC1 to PC3, for example, it will actually use this link right here. So that's not very helpful, but let's try to send a packet from PC1 to laptop 2. That's successful. Laptop 1 to PC4, although that packet might take this route. Let's see. Let's simulate that. So laptop 1, PC4, go into the simulation mode. And yeah, for sure it will use the faster link. Let's see. Okay, so it uses both paths. Here it's going to be blocked, yeah. And then this packet will end up on PC4. Great, and go back the same route. All right, what is important here is that we have successfully configured the Ether channel link and it's working. So that's how you do that. I hope you've found this exercise useful. See you in the next one.